What's up, Tableau friends? What's going on? Nick White here from W. Carey School of Business. I'm at home today, and my kids got a cold, so I decided to record this. It's actually like 1:40 in the morning, and so that way, if he just comes knocking on the door asking for treats for me to blow his nose or something, it doesn't interrupt the presentation. So I'm going to get through this as quickly as I can, and I'll stop the video when it's done, and then I'll go on live and answer any questions you may have. And if you don't have any questions, then I won't answer them, and then we'll move on to the next thing. It'll be great. All right. We good? Thanks. Let's get cracking. Let's talk about me. I got into data by accident, and I love it here. I love my journey here. It's so much fun to talk about it. In the 90s, I was into like electronic music and stuff, and I made music, had synthesizers, and I got computers and synths and things to talk to each other. But there wasn't a big career in it, and one little failed project after another, I decided, I should probably get a job. So I got a job, and it turns out I was good at fixing things and making things talk to each other. So I got tired of fixing printers. So I got a job at a software company doing QA, and then I got a job at a high school running the AV department. Then I got hired here in 2007, working for the executive MBA program, doing IT for them. And then that's where I discovered that I really, really like doing like statistics and data analysis kinds of stuff. I like to make the machine learning, data mining software stuff talk to each other. That was fun. So a couple of years later, a professor said, "Hey, you should get a master's in this stuff. You seem to like it." So I did. Now I'm in my third year as a business intelligence analyst at the business school, and I'm really, really happy here. I love it. So that's my story. All right, disclaimers. First, I already mentioned this. I'm working from home today because my kid's sick, so this video is pre-recorded. So if you have any questions, I'm not going to answer them until the end. Second, what I'm presenting is what works for me. May not work for you. I'm not an expert in any of the tools that I use or any of the techniques that I'm showing you. It's just something I've worked that works for me. Everything I do is self-taught. Everything that I do is self-taught, except for maybe driving. My dad taught me how to drive. If any of you know of a better way to do a thing that I'm showing you, or of a better way to use a tool, or if I'm wrong, or if I said something wrong, whatever, I'm open to learning. Like, I openly admit that I do things wrong. My wife tells me this every day that Nick, you're wrong. Okay, sorry. Share this with me. Like, let me know. Put it in the chat message, or shoot me a Slack message, or chime in at the end. Like, turn your mic on and say something. It's cool. We're all friends here, right? We'll learn from each other. Okay. Third, what I'm sharing with you guys is very, very, very superficial. Of what the capability of the tools. They can do so much more than what I'm sharing with you. I myself don't know what they can all do. I'm just learning as I go. But hopefully we can all learn together. It'll be fun. This presentation is limited in time, so I'm only kind of keeping the scope of this as limited as I can possibly keep it. It's not meant to be comprehensive. So, and finally, some of you may be doing a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about today. Some of you may be better, faster, stronger than me. If you are that person, we should get together. We should talk, maybe over Slack, over Zoom or something. Show me what you've learned. Teach me. Make me better. That way I can be better at my job. It'd be awesome. All right, on to today's presentation. All right, are you guys down with OPD? I want to talk to you about the strategies I use when working with other people's dashboards. That's what OPD means, for those who can't figure that one out. Years ago, a consultant was hired to make some dashboards here, and we still use these dashboards today. Our leadership have said, hey, these dashboards are awesome, but we want them to be better. We have some ideas. And we know what that means. That means they're going to want us to fix things or tinker with things that aren't broken, and that can cause problems. So they're coming at us like we know how the dashboard was built, or how the ETL process that drives the data that pushes into the dashboard, how it was built, or et cetera, and a lot of us don't know. It just runs and it works. So sometimes we have to do a little bit of a history of the thing. We have to look at it and figure out how it works, right? So recently I was asked to make a change to a grade distribution report dashboard thing that was built several years ago, and it was the undergraduate dean of undergraduate programs, who I really like, and she's a lot of fun to work with. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go the extra mile for her because she's super nice, and see what I can do to make this process better for us. So let me set up the story with this, my dad, and it'll make sense in a second. So my dad was a doctor. He was an internist for a long time. He died in 2014. He's no longer with us. But before he died, he was very, very good doctor. And what made him a good doctor was that he was a good people person, and he had lots of interactions with lots of people. And he used to talk about his job every day. He'd come home from work and he'd say, "Hey, Dad, what gross stuff did you do today?" And he would tell us about something hilarious, right? And he told me this. He said, the greatest toolkit in a doctor's toolkit is a patient's history. He said this in the 80s sometime, 86 maybe, I don't know, whenever. But it stuck with me. And what he meant was, the best way to fix a problem is to understand like the big picture, like to look for patterns, look for anomalies, outliers, look for shifts in behavior, all that stuff, right? And you get all that stuff by asking the patient questions, detailed questions, writing them down well, documenting that stuff, and doing all that stuff first. Don't do it after you've started needling them. Do it first. And that stuck with me because I try and approach my problem solving the same way. So, although I'm not a doctor, I play one at WPC. I like to think of myself as a dashboard doctor now. And I perform histories on our dashboards. I call it like a sort of like an analysis autopsy, yeah? And dashboards are inherently great introverts. They don't say a whole lot, and they need a lot of coaxing to say anything of meaning, usefulness, of use to us, right? And so I've had to develop a sort of a few tricks which have helped me along the way to get to the data that I need ahead of time, so that way when it comes time to working with like the dean of undergraduate programs, I'm ready to rock and roll, and we can have a really good working session. The things that I have found that when I do this is I'm in a better position to understand the dashboard itself. I'm in a better position to understand how the proposed change will impact the dashboard. I'm also in a better position to make the change. All of that saves time. It's effective use of time. It makes the client you're working with much happier. They see that you've done some work, that you care, and they see like the outcome is the outcome that they're looking for. So doctors have tools in their bag. They have stethoscopes and thermometers and stuff, right? I have tools too. The tools that I use Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator. I use Notepad++. I use online XML parsers. Sometimes I use the two of them interchangeably, depending on what I'm trying to do. I use Anaconda and Python and Jupyter Notebooks. And then I use Alteryx, which we all are very familiar with. One of the struggles that I've found when doing dashboard histories has been the limited field of view that Tableau by itself provides at any one time. And so I liken it to being at the Grand Canyon and you're trying to look at it through you're inside a tank and you see it like this. And if you want to see something else, you got to turn the turret and you see it like this. And you've lost that field of view over here. And if you want to see something over here, you got to turn the turret again like this. And any time you look at something, you only get a very limited field of view. Hence the term limited field of view. So my goal is, by using these tools, try to get a big picture of what it is. I get a big picture without having to rotate the turret. So, the big picture. One of the first things that I do to make sure that I get a big picture of a dashboard is to make a drawing. And it sounds nutty, but let me show you. I do a series of drawings, and this will seem a little overwhelming. This is of that dashboard I was showing you here, the undergraduate grade distribution dashboard, which is this guy. But if I do sort of a holistic overview of what the dashboard, how it relates to all the other stuff in our ecosystem, I have this sort of already pre-drawn, and then I just plug in like a screen grab of the dashboard that I'm looking at. And then I identify the tables and the databases and maybe the stored procedures that drive it and some other stuff. If I have all this stuff ready, I feel like I'm much higher, better position to understand like what's going on. And then at a more sort of little bit more detailed view, if I need to, I can start using this tool also for doing stuff like calculated fields. I can explode the dashboard a little bit, do some screen grabs and throw them in here, and get a sense of like, oh wow, okay, here's a calculated field. This comes from here. This drives this. This field drives these two things. It's the denominator of this thing, which is a summation of this thing, which is what drives this over here. So that way I know when it's time to meet with the dean, she says she's going to say something like, hey Nick, I want us to be able to make this thing do this. I can kind of go backwards and say, this stems from this, which stems from this, which stems from this, which stems from this, which doesn't exist. Meaning I need to create a new calculated field, or I need to add something to the stored procedure to put more data into the table, or I need to pull more data from here, or whatever the answer is, right? There's lots of things I can do. But the fact is I have this drawing here, and as soon as she tells me what it is that she wants, I can very quickly logically go through all this stuff in a single session and explain to her what it is I'm trying to do. And she can maybe propose other things that we hadn't thought of and see things that maybe I hadn't seen. And we can implement sort of a strategy for getting to what it is that she's trying to get to. Let's see what else we got here. So yeah, in a nutshell, this drawing here, it shows off like ASU's data ecosystem. Oh, here's another one. This one's crazy. This is our data ecosystem and a picture of a dog, because everyone needs a picture of a dog in their drawings, right? Makes it more fun. If I show them just this, people wouldn't care, but you put a picture of a dog in, all of a sudden they perk up. That's another drawing I like to use. And a couple of these I just kind of have ready all the time. So whenever I go into like a working session, I just have it ready. And then if I need to share my screen, I can just show it to the people I'm working with, and they know what's up. All right. So yeah, I'm showing off ASU's data ecosystem, our dashboard ecosystem, where dashboards live down in Tucson, the data sources they connect to, such as this one here, how they live in relation to the data. So like data warehouse is housed by UTO, our reporting data lives in our SQL server, the dashboards live in Tucson, but the analytics portal, which views the data pushed out by the data server down in Tucson, it's like it shows the separation of things. So I feel like that is important. Also, the flow of data goes from left to right. That's also important. The tool I use for all of this is Adobe Illustrator. And I like Illustrator because I've been using it since the 90s, like since Illustrator 8. And they're up to, I don't know, 22 or something now. And it's just what I'm used to. I've been using it forever. I know all the shortcuts. I can use it in my sleep. I can drag things around. I can hide and expose layers. I can do colors. I can do text. I can do pictures. I can do blah, 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 blah. I can import, export. I can bring stuff from Illustrator and other programs. Like, it's just a really good program for drawing. It's probably not the best program for technical stuff. I think Visio's probably better, but it's just because I've been using it for so long. It's just a tool I like to have. Anyways, regardless of whatever tool you use, the important thing is that you use something visual. And having something visual and sort of step back and big gives you a bigger, better sense of like what's going on. And it makes your working sessions with your clients much, much more productive. So, all right, on to my next thing. Boom. Someone said this in Slack a while ago, and like when I heard it, like my mind went. Tableau workbooks are nothing more than glorified XML files. And so for all you data people who've done like web stuff, you'll know what the DOM is, the document object model. This guy here. And if I understand it correctly, the DOM is like the interface that allows us to look at and manipulate the logical structure of a Tableau workbook or of an XML file, and in this case, a Tableau workbook. So I thought, this is great. I can do some cool things using DOM and Tableau files. But first thing I had to do is I need to understand how it worked. So I put on my thinking cap, grabbed my calculator, and I came up with this proof that I developed from remembering how proofs were made in geometry class in 10th grade. And the basic thing is that like this Tableau workbook, the version with X at the end of it, I forgot what it means, equals a zip file of just a regular Tableau workbook plus a bunch of other stuff, which is like folders of data files and images and some other stuff, right? Where the workbook is nothing more than an XML file. And I thought, oh, great, this is great. So all I got to do is I got to get this XML file out of this, and then I can start looking at it. So I did that. And this is what it looks like. I was going to show you Notepad++, but I'd rather just show you in this like XML parser. It's a lot easier to... Where did you go, XML parser? Here you are. This is what an XML parser looks like. Well, this is actually the XML file. Just shows you the XML file itself. And you can fold and do some other crazy stuff. But this is an XML file. It looks nutty. And it's not very pretty. So you can look at it in this much nicer looking view where you can open and close things, and things are much, much easier to understand. And as you start digging through it, you start to figure out that like XML is structured and it should make sense. The trick though is to understand, well, how is Tableau's DOM laid out? And I've not found a library yet that sort of explains it, but it's basically, you sort of start with like your workbook level, and then you go down to like your data source level, and then from there you go to like your sheet level, then your dashboard level, and then like your story level, and then like your image level or something. But anyways, I've been able to sort of reverse engineer like nodes and nested layers of things in here, and I thought, this is cool. Okay, I can get to my data and I can look around and find some stuff, but like, okay, but that's kind of a pain. So what can I do with that? Well, this is where I want to get into like the little picture. So before I'm looking at big picture, now I want little picture. So if the heart of a Tableau workbook is the XML file, that means I can access like detailed key components using the DOM, I need a tool. First, I need to understand what are the things I need access to, and then I need a tool that helps me get to that. So big picture, I'm looking at all the data sources combined together. And this thing over here, this server here, this thing down in Tucson, that's big picture. Little picture is like, what are the things inside the workbook that I need access to? So things that I'm interested in are things like data sources, data source aliases, tables, database fields, calculated fields. So database fields and calculated fields, those are very important. Sheets, dashboards, maybe formatting if I may want to pull that out or something. I don't know why, but I can. Those are little picture things I might want access to. How can I be selective when pulling that stuff out? And so I need a tool that can help me do that. And the tool that I'm going to use is Python. So Python is a programming language, and it's named after a snake. I don't know why, it just is. It's used in data science and all sorts of stuff now, and it's got all these really cool libraries for doing cool things. And let me show you. I use a thing called Anaconda, which is like a distribution of Python, which has Python and a bunch of other tools all built in together. And one of the tools I use all the time with it is Jupyter these things called notebooks. Let me show you what a notebook looks like. Notebooks are awesome. Oh gosh, here we go. Here's a notebook. So Jupyter notebooks are like Jupyter notebooks are like IDEs for programming languages. In this case, it's for Python. And I can put little snippets of code in here, and I can access that little picture detailed level stuff out of XML files, and then I can print that stuff to like CSV files and use that in reports or sharing it with meetings or whatever I need to do. So I recently wrote this script here, and I followed it up with another one here. And the goal was to, I had a bunch of Tableau files down in Tucson, 40, and I need to figure out which one or what their data sources were and what tables they connected to. So I wrote this one here to get the XML files out, and then I wrote this one here to go through each XML file, figure out what data source they connected to, and write the data sources to a CSV file. And so what that looked like is this. And here you can see the connection name, and here, oops, let me make that smaller there. The connection name, the name of the table that it's connecting to, and then another name here, which means the same thing. And then the name of the dashboard, so if we like the file name. And then I also later on went and added like the URL of the dashboard. Like this is a report that I added some other stuff to, but I basically ran that report and was given these things right here. And this would have taken a while to do manually. Being able to do this in using Python made it take like 8 seconds. Like it was super quick. So that was awesome. All right, there's that. And then the last thing I want to share with you is the last tool that I used, Alteryx. In Alteryx, I found this really cool workflow recently, which I can load a Tableau file in here. I hit go, and it spits out a nice little Excel file, which, oops, too many windows open. Which looks like this. There we go. And it went through and it found all the field name, all the data, the field name. I'm not saying the right word. Like the data names, the there we go, column names. Sorry. The fields, and I can filter based on whether they're calculated or if they're database. And then I thought, this is cool. And I isolated these ones here because going back to my Illustrator file, I know that from here that this grade values is super, super important. That's right here. And so now I'm like, okay, this thing connects to something over here, which is also purple. I made it purple, which connects to something over here, which connects to something here. I can see the formula name. I can see, it's just another tool that I have at my disposal to give me another, like, kind of a big and a more detailed view of what's going on under the hood. So anyways, that's what Alteryx does. Alteryx is awesome. I love that program. So I'm going to wrap this up because I'm tired and I'm probably running over time. So in conclusion, these are the tools that I use. I spend a little extra time with good bedside manner and a little patience, taking good notes and listening to what the dashboard has to say to me. Learning about the tools that I have at my disposal, trying to discover more about tools that I don't have at my disposal yet. I'm able to take a good patient history the same way my dad took good patient histories with his patients. The outcome of all this extra work is that I have a better understanding of how these dashboards work in our ecosystem under the hood, at the macro level, at the micro level. I'm able to make the correct changes at the correct places, and I'm better able to serve our business units and dashboard consumers. That is all. Thank you very much for your time. I'll take some questions if you have any. Thank you for your patience. Bye-bye.